Hi there, this is Briscoe, and this is Truth Wins Every Time. It is July 22nd, 2020, and today we are seeing that Twitter removes, bans, and suspends thousands of accounts associated with QAnon conspiracy theory group. 2 months ago, Twitter began fact-checking President Donald Trump's tweets. Now, it's removing and suspending accounts associated with QAnon conspiracy theory group that has supported the president. The social network Tuesday night announced via tweets on its Twitter safety account that the actions were being taken against so-called QAnon activities across the service. Twitter took different actions against accounts associated with QAnon for various reasons, including violations of its rules against glorifying violence. We've been clear that we will take strong enforcement action on the behavior that has the potential to lead to offline harm, Twitter safety account tweeted Tuesday. The group follows an online user named Q, whom The Guardian reported in 2018 purports to be a government insider with top security clearance. QAnon followers have spread conspiracy theories about a deep state attempting to combat Trump and a large child sex trafficking ring within the government. Not only the government, but other retailers and other areas. This thing is far-reaching. It's more than just a government thing. Hollywood, the whole bit. About 7,000 accounts had been recently removed for violating the platform's rules about spam, platform manipulation, or ban evasion, as reported initially by NBC News. Eventually, 150,000 accounts affiliated with QAnon will be impacted with less visibility for other Twitter users. So, this is a big problem. This is censorship, and I know people are going to say Twitter is a private company. However, anytime you try to silence somebody, that's usually because there is truth to what is going on. So let's get back to this. Twitter's action against QAnon accounts included many being banned from problems associated with misinformation and swarming harassment from coordinated and targeted campaigns against people, NBC News reported, citing a Twitter spokesperson who had asked to not give their name because of harassment concerns. The spokesperson told NBC News the service was acting because of concerns about increased harm associated with the conspiracy theory. Now, that brings me to Google, who is Q? And here's your first hit from the week in the UK. It's a website there. So I go to there and let's read on as to what this has to say. More than 50 Republican candidates in 2020 election have shared the internet-based conspiracy. A new survey has revealed that 53 candidates running for a seat in U.S. Congress have promoted the QAnon conspiracy theory. The pro-Trump theory, which is based on the enigmatic messages of an anonymous poster named Q, espouses the idea that the president is heading up a master plan to launch a counter coup against members of the deep state. The survey by progressive site Media Matters found that 30 of the QAnon supporting candidates have already dropped out or have been defeated in primaries, and most are Republicans running in solid Democratic areas, said NBC. Excuse me. However, one candidate in Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has emerged as a favorite in her district. Since its birth in October of 2017, the QAnon theory has spread from the fringe internet forums of 4chan and 8chan to more widely used platforms like Reddit and Facebook. Firebrand conservative commenters, including Roseanne Barr, Kurt Schilling, and Alex Jones from InfoWars, have helped amplify the theory, which has often had real-world consequences. But who is Q, and will his or her theories have any long-term impact? Who is Q? On 28 October 2017, someone calling themselves Q began posting a series of cryptic messages in the 4chan internet forum titled Calm Before the Storm, which is something that President Trump recently said, assumedly in reference to that creepy Trump quote from earlier in October, says New York Magazine. Q claimed to be a high-level government insider with Q clearance, a United States Department of Energy security clearance with access to classified information, who had been instructed to post intelligence leaks straight to 4chan in order to covertly inform the public about POTUS's master plan to stage a counter coup against members of the deep state, close quotes, adds the magazine. Since Q can be anyone with internet access and a working knowledge of conspiracy theories, there's no reason to think that Q is a member of the Trump administration rather than, say, a troll or a YouTube huckster, says the Daily Beast's Will Sommer, who has followed the community from the very beginning. But incredibly, lots of people believe it, he adds. So, I know that some people can be blindly led easily. And, I've heard about Q, and again, going back to 2018, but I never have really put any credence in it until recently, within the past couple weeks, when there was a rumor, I guess you could say, that I heard John F. Kennedy Jr. is behind QAnon. That's pretty interesting. He is supposed to have died in '99 in a plane crash, which when I read about that plane crash, there was somebody who had commented, and unfortunately I didn't screenshot it or bookmark where I read this comment, but somebody had said that there's apparently an explosive that was found on the tail of JFK Jr.'s plane, and it was discovered by, I'm guessing he probably had some kind of detail around him at all times, or at least most of the time. And so, as the story goes, they removed that charge, and they put one of their own on there, and then I'm guessing they probably, at this point, since they discovered it, they would have left John, Carolyn, and her sister behind, and then maybe had somebody else fly the plane. And again, that's a pretty out there story. However, there are many things that were leading up to JFK's death, and prior to that, there were reports of a failing marriage, a failing business with his magazine George, and also Hillary Clinton coming to the scene in 2000, and she wanted to take his seat. So anyway, let's get back to this. What do the QAnon followers believe? Since QAnon first crawled out of the internet's churning goo, the theory has metastasized, says the Washington Post's Paul Musgrove. It has shifted to targeting celebrities who QAnon supporters say are also involved in the anti-American conspiracy they are trying to stop. But it continues to revolve around the central conceit that behind the scenes, Trump is really doing something amazing and heroic, and that the shambolic mess of a commander-in-chief the world sees is just a front for a hyper-competent superhero, he adds. I voted for Trump just because I could not vote for Hillary. And I do think that Trump has done some great things since he's been in office. He's certainly not a politician. There is an argument that he could be an actor because he has been around Hollywood. And, he's had his own show. Even though, he was playing himself, basically. So that's why I say actor, maybe in a loose form. But he's certainly, yes, he's, up there with the bigwigs and knows a lot of those people, but he certainly seems to be, at this point, a person for the people. The one hang-up I have with Trump is his ties to Israel. And that'll be a whole nother video that I'll do sometime in talking about that. But again, let's get back to this. According to Sommer, Q followers who call themselves bakers because they follow Q's breadcrumb trail essentially believe that the U.S. government has been secretly investigating Democrats, and the Justice Department will soon reveal compromising information about Hillary Clinton. That sounds outlandish, but the conspiracy has gone mainstream because there are increasingly fewer barriers to entry, says Sommer. There's a pretty well laid out for an ultimately fake conspiracy theory QAnon video going around that makes it pretty easy for people who are already inclined to believe in a pro-Trump conspiracy theory but don't want to dig through hundreds of clues on 4chan to understand QAnon, he told Pointer. So you know, some people are saying QAnon is a psyop. Um, you know, it might be. I can certainly say that if it is John F. Kennedy Jr. who's behind QAnon, um, it'll blow the world's minds. I mean, except for the people who are already, you know, picked up on that, but that's a given, you know. But I mean, a majority of the world thinks that those people that think that's even true, and I'm not even sure at this point what to believe. I do find it highly intriguing. All of it, though, I really do. Um, but if John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive, and he comes out and there's talk that he's going to be the VP to Trump, or Trump is going to choose him to be his VP, Trump's going to win by a landslide without a doubt. And I think that if this is true, and they say that this is true because John F. Kennedy Jr. has been plotting to avenge his father's killers. And so, you know, fathers are so important. And that's another video I'm going to do at some point. But fathers, you know, when somebody takes your father from you when you're a young child and you don't get to experience your father, it is the absolute biggest hole that can be left in a child's life and its heart. And it eventually, for most, if that mother can't pick up the slack and try to keep that child on course, I think Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis actually did a good job for the most part with John F. Kennedy Jr. He was raised with some class. He was definitely seemed like maybe more of an adventurer than his father. You know, so, you know, but he seemed to be, by all accounts, from what I can see and some of the things I can remember from back in that time, because I was born in 1971, so I'm 49 going on 50. So, you know, I don't even remember the plane crash back in 99 because I was doing other things in my life to where I wasn't, that was really the beginning of the start of me not watching mainstream media and TV. Was back in the late 90s. I was doing original music back in St. Louis, Missouri. Ended up moving out to the Pacific West Coast here. And, you know, that's where I've resided now. And I ended up in the City of Destiny. So if you want to find out where I am, just Google that. If Q is John F. Kennedy Jr., you know, I think it would be amazing. I think it would create a lot of cognitive dissonance. I think it would create, it would shock the world without a doubt. And then to know, you know, if he pairs up with Trump and they move forward together into November, you automatically know who's going to be the next president. I don't care if it's Biden or if it's somebody else. I mean, there's nobody else in this world that somebody would want in the White House more than JFK Jr., except for a lot of people wouldn't vote for Trump. The people that hate Trump, even if they wanted to get JFK Jr. in the White House, and you never know, maybe some kind of a plan would be for the Democrats to vote for Trump, and then an assassination is put on Trump to be able to get JFK Jr. into the presidency, which, again, that's just obviously just a random thought on how things could play out if this is true. But obviously there is some legitimacy at this point. There could be some truth to this Q thing, especially now that Twitter is trying to silence them. Here you go. You got a picture of this Vincent Fusca, who people say is JFK in disguise. I don't quite see that one. He'd have to be wearing a lot of like rubber prosthetic type material on his face to actually give him the shape that his face has right there. But there is this picture here, right here, and this is the woman that people are saying is Carolyn Kennedy. And let me see if I can find a better side-by-side comparison. But her being Carolyn is certainly more plausible. Here it is. See, this absolutely seems more plausible than Fusca as JFK Jr. So I'll tell you what, though, like I say, that this definitely, I mean, here you go. Here's the um, Vincent Fusca is not JFK Jr. Absolute proof. So, I mean, look at the side by side comparisons here. Fusca, his eyes are much more narrow. The nose is completely wide. The jaw rests the same, but the lips are different. So, honestly, this looks like some, I don't know, looks like Gene Simmons' brother in a way. But yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to play this video just because it's somebody else's. But if you were interested in going checking that out, I am going to be checking it myself out here in just a little bit anyway. But I'm at Dang Shanghai. Okay, I don't know where that's from, but anyway. Again, the pictures of Vincent Fusca and JFK just, I don't know, I don't quite buy it. Here you've got this picture where it appears to be the same guy. But again, I don't see JFK in, here you got this one. I mean, look, I don't know. I don't see it. The eyes and the nose just don't match up. Anyway, and I'm also going to be doing some future videos on the George magazine, especially if JFK Jr. is alive. And again, I'm reserving my decision on whether he is or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up so it doesn't get too long. Again, this is Briscoe with Truth Wins Every Time. If you enjoyed this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button, you subscribe, comment. If you want to let me know something about the video or about the topic that I'm talking about, and then share this with your friends and family so they can see this, and hopefully it starts discussion with them for you if they're in the camp of not being a QAnon believer or anything. So it's always good just to start the dialogue, especially in this day and age right now when there is so much uncertainty as to what's going on. The more people talk and they actually are talking about stuff that is observable, it needs to be said. Things need to be said. So just remember the Father, the Creator, the one that put all of us here. Talk to Him daily, even if it's just for a few minutes. He'll appreciate it, and He'll make sure that your life is more enriching because of it. Take care.